Hi guys, I'm happy to hear that so many has signed up for today's webinar. My name is Tove Sundqvist-Borloen. I'm a licensed psychologist and business area manager here at Assessio. And with me today, I have my wonderful colleague Malin on the other side of the line today, and I'll let her present herself and the topic a bit further.
Hi, my name is Malin Ryholt and I work as a customer success manager here at Assessio. In this webinar on how to use data-driven insights in succession planning, our aim is to inspire and help you better understand how using data-driven insights can benefit your organization when working with your succession planning.
As the next step here, I'd like you guys to imagine a situation where your CEO suddenly quits or otherwise becomes unable to do their daily job. Secondly, the other example here is to imagine losing your whole management team. It's an extreme situation, I know, but I've heard it actually happening. So there is some reality to this. And thirdly, imagine that you, as a management team, need to fill key roles quickly and adjust the people that have key roles and management roles in order to ensure the success and future of your company. So what do you do in these situations? Well, luckily, I hope that you have a succession plan in place that's easy to apply. Or is that the actual case here? Think about it. Do you even have one? Did you know that 65% of organizations today actually lack a succession plan? And the most existing ones are not solid enough to future-proof the company. The plan may not even be a part of the main strategy of the organization. I'd like to tell you a real-life example from my trip to and from work the other day, where I overheard a couple young ladies, HR students actually, that were doing a current internship at a major company. They were frustrated and talking quite erratically about a project they were doing. They were working on the succession plan, and they were valuing different sources of information and got different instructions from different people in order to complete this, what they were working at was a manual list for, to do a competency mapping and see who would be the next successor in their organization. So they were kind of creating this succession plan. And based on my line of work, I couldn't help but listen in to this dialogue. And they were discussing that something did feel off and that they felt that there was a major challenge is how to value the information that they got, and also how to value this information and put this into the actual plan to complete the task. They were obviously continuing this discussion for a few more stations, still just as frustrated. And while they got off, I was just as frustrated as they were. And the fact that manual and subjective measures and methods, like this example here, are applied and taught today, it's not sustainable. But to look on the bright side of things, HR professionals today are more aware of the risks with using low quality data or subjective measures in these kind of talent management processes and succession planning. So we do need to accelerate how industries in general view this unbiased data in the succession planning and incorporate it. Obviously, one way is to share knowledge and inspire and create the courage to make things differently, do things differently, and to also break bad habits, which is the main message here. Time to break the bad habits when it comes to succession planning. We all know that having a succession plan in place is key and a very good idea for your organization. In fact, the companies with solid plans, they do tend to outperform their competitors. And the data is even suggesting that this performance advantage is about 20 to 35%. Imagine that. We also know that most companies don't even have a plan. which poses a major risk when it comes to downtime if something unexpected in key positions happens, but also the impact on the daily operations. We all agree that not having a plan is obviously not the way forward into, well, how to future-proof your organization. So over to you, Malin.
Thank you. And to illustrate the importance to discuss this topic, we have some interesting data to share. Did you know, for example, that only 23% of HR leaders believe that they work effectively with talent data in their people processes? And even in a world where reliance on data is deepening, only 40% of senior leaders seek out HR data when making business decisions. So this begs the question, what are the remaining 60% basing their decisions on? During the last decade, the volume of data and metrics that can be used and reported on by HR has increased exponentially, and we believe that this development will only continue. However, the majority of organizations are still not realizing the true value from their analytics investments. Of course, there's still much more data to consider here. Right, Tove?
Oh boy, do I have some more data for you guys. According to a fresh report from this year by McKinsey, today employees are too frequently hired based on their past experience and current experience, but not their potential. And research also indicate that many organizations are losing value and talents by not creating enough internal mobility. In fact, more than 80% of role moves are due to change of employers and not internal moves. So you can see that there's a massive brain drain going on. And the recent survey by Gartner also revealed that 79% of HR leaders do believe that data analytics is crucial in order to identify high potential employees. So there is an indication of a maturity in the industry that's, to me, very subjectively though, is a massive change from when I first got into this business in 2015. So there's loads of, it's a good base to build upon to make this necessary change. However, though, there is a discrepancy to consider that I want you guys to be aware of, and that's based on research by McKinsey again. However, a handful of organizations, even if they know it's important, only 5%, about 5%, are successfully and regularly, routinely incorporating new technologies in their people management functions. So again, we know that data is important, we know that objectivity is important, and we have a reliance on it or a trust in it, but we don't get it applied in practice. So the trend is, though, that organizations today, they're increasingly turning into predictive analytics to forecast leadership success. And that's also the positive trend we want to see and preferably see a bit more of in the future, because this shift is, again, necessary for any organization in order to stay relevant and competitive. And another report by McKinsey, companies that use data analytics for talent management, they see a major increase in performance than those relying on more traditional methods. And another example of this is that a company that implemented AI to examine leadership traits, but also put in this into practice in personalized development plans when they applied the findings, they also had a much faster identification speed of emerging leaders in their organization. So this is a very successful implementation of how it should be done. Succession planning is seen as a time-consuming and sometimes not prioritized process that's usually delegated to HR and not a part of the main strategy of the company. And this shift is something that's also necessary in order to, have the performance advantage as an organization. So do remember and use this within your organizations to pinpoint the importance of actually having a plan and anchoring it into your main strategy. There was a study connected by Harvard Business Review as well that indicates that companies with succession plans in place have a higher profitability. We've kind of covered that already, but also a decrease in turnover rates. That's something to be considered. And another review found that 10% of companies surveyed had a robust succession plan in place, but 71% of the leaders surveyed did acknowledge the importance of having a plan. And this still continues to illustrate the discrepancy by, illustrating how important it is to put our knowledge into practice in organizations. And that does obviously pose a challenge for companies today, especially as we're facing one of the biggest CEO turnovers that we've faced in 20 years. And about 22% of CEOs of Fortune 500 companies are projected to retire this year in 2025. So that's a massive generational shift.
So as you can see, there's quite a lot out there for organizations to handle. So how does Assessio use data and AI to help our clients in particular? First of all, at Assessio, we strive to provide you with people data that you can trust. Our platform is based on research in work psychology, which allows you to match the right talent to your organization based on objectivity and the potential of the individual. With us, we make sure that you get powerful tools for recruitment and development where no talent goes to waste. One of these tools is the AI Lens Assistant, which is used to define different profiles within your organization. So our AI assistant has access to extensive data insights, which ensures both quality and validity when creating your profile, and you can quickly and accurately identify successful behaviors for any role or level, which makes it both effective and efficient. It also allows for your talent strategies to be seamlessly aligned with your strategic goals and cultural fit, which makes it a truly agile tool that is accommodating to even the most specific organizational needs. The other tool that we have is the AI Development Assistant. And that is designed to help each individual tailor their development goals to the needs of the organization, making highly personalized plans. This allows the individual to take control of their personal growth while they ensure that they have relevant focus for the organization.
I've done some digging, and a few weeks ago, I interviewed a couple CEOs and CHROs to find out what they saw as the biggest challenges for them when it came to succession planning. And we had some similar trends emerge from these interviews, even though some of the leaders had succession plans in place for their organizations and some didn't. So, for example, the challenge that most leaders were facing was being unbiased in their succession planning. This is a really hard word, guys. There was the constant use of manual and subjective measures, for example, personal referrals, or also seemingly objective processes that were used, but when further investigated, it actually turned out that they were just as subjective as the just using any other kind of non-scientific data in the decision making. So wrongfully, for example, believing that they used unbiased data and then they found out that they actually didn't. The fact that they didn't have a solid plan in place in some of the cases was also one of the big challenges. And they did know that this was important, though, that it was important to have this plan in place, but they were unsure on the method and how to put it into place in an objective and accurate way, and what data and information to use to make the best predictions. So obviously not knowing how to actually identify, for example, future leaders. And another challenge, not listed here, but that was still food for thought, is that talent pools can also be a bit of a challenge to use. I mean, it feels like talent pools are great, aren't they? But we tend to, by turning to existing talent pools, also miss people that would have been a better fit for the job at hand and the role that needs to be filled out. So we need to challenge our beliefs that the high potential that we find today and that we know about today may not be the high potential tomorrow. So we need to kind of work with that mentality and challenge our preconceptions. So the solutions is to obviously challenge your plans regularly. You can definitely make a list, but incorporate objective measures like potential data. If possible, reuse your data that you have from recruitment if available to you, and complete with new data points if necessary. Preferably also analyze larger groups and look beyond your pre-selected pools of talent and future leaders if you have them, in order to also challenge your previous analysis that you have done. And the result will give you more of an accurate, spot on, and reliable succession plan. And also, to add on to that, if we do use solid data, that will be easier to update and challenge along the way as well. Next up, I will present to you a method or a model that we suggest that you use regardless of which role you're trying to find the perfect fit for. We suggest that you work based on this model according to the 5 steps suggested. So the first step here is about defining and deciding what the process should look like. You need to define and analyze what the successor actually needs in the role. What's need to have, not nice to have. This is what I'd like you to ask yourselves. Which behaviors will be beneficial in this role? Which skills, experiences are critical to perform? And also define what the process should look like. You can obviously work with gap analysis as well to see if you have certain gaps in your organization today as well. But make sure to only use the criteria and demands on the role that are absolutely necessary, so you don't make a long wish list that is absolutely impossible to fulfill as a candidate. The second step is about the data collection. So decide which data points you will use. Will you use potential data, for example? How will it be used? How will it be collected? So you can use, for example, digital tools like psychometric assessments. They will provide insights into your co-workers based on extensive research and solid research. And that will hopefully give you the objective foundation for science-based HR decisions. You can also map the employee's potential for future roles, current roles, but also identify strengths and development areas. And when looking at the data that you have in this step, there is a possible. It's possible here that you will try to disqualify people that don't have the skills, for example. But the most important thing here is to kind of just make note of that and still base this data collection step and how you move forward based on psychometric tools. Thirdly, you have the match step that enables you to reuse your hiring data of your employees if you have this, or you can also complete with more updated measures as well. You will match the possible candidates against the roles that you wish to fill. And again, the perfect match based on all the areas, criteria when it comes to behavior, but also skills may not appear, but base the main decisions here on the potential. For example, leadership potential, if that's a behavioral trait that you'd like to find in your candidate pool. So do not disqualify the candidates based on lack of experience, for example, or knowledge, because we do know that the right person and the right behavioral set is beating the lack of experience over time. And fourth step here, application step, we call it, and that's obviously to apply all the findings that you have, combine the psychometric findings, the role matches, but also analyze all the information that you have about the candidate. And based on that, you can work with your shortlist and take the people into the strengthening step, where you set the plan into action, where you use behavioral science, for example, to make them develop their behaviors further, but also set clear goals that you as a manager, for example, can follow up on, and also plan an onboarding and performance follow-up based on skills or knowledge that the candidates need in order to succeed in the upcoming role. So by following this process, you will generate an efficient, more fair, and solid succession plan for your organization, working with scientific behavioral data.
Tove has definitely given us a lot to consider, but I would also like to ask you, who would you promote? If we ask around, I am sure that we would get several different answers based on different criteria. And our CEO, Johan Masironi, did a talk at an HR convention the other day where he shared an example where a common misconception to future-proofing your organization is the need to rejuvenate it. So the question that he asked the audience was whether that helps them to identify the true potential and the best leaders by only looking at a generational shift. Nobody in that particular group had ever thought of that question. It's no secret that organizations that invest in their employees tend to get better results. The challenge is understanding what type of learning and development investments make the most impact. So what would happen if organizations could be more specific about how to invest in their employees at the individual level? You might have a fantastic employee showing great potential, but to evolve, they need to gain access to specific experiences or exposure in a few areas to build on that potential. So simply signing them up for a generic program won't necessarily meet their needs or yours. So with the right technology, the organization can get more focused on developing individuals to their highest potential by creating a more focused, individualized plan that can empower the individual and in turn will better serve the organization. Securing future leaders requires more than filling out spreadsheets. It's about creating a proactive, data-driven strategy. Right now, data on any job, its function and geography exists in most organizations. And effective talent management is about pairing those individuals with all the new opportunities that emerge within that organization. So leadership needs clear data to know what an employee can do, as opposed to what their role says that they should do. And employees need to make their leaders aware that these are my career goals, and they need to have access to skills training, the skills training that they need to achieve this.
So just to repeat ourselves a little bit as well, how do we make sure to promote individuals that are engaged and have the behavioral that we need, the behavioral profile that we need? It's a bit of a trick question, so think about it for about 5 seconds before we move on. You should know this by now, I hope. Well, obviously, Assessio's standpoint here is to focus to apply psychometric and behavioral insights in succession planning based on our legacy as an organization and our expertise in the field. So our suggestion is to apply insights based on person-job fit, and not only performance data and subjective measures, in order to really take your succession plan to the next level and make it more spot on and easier to manage. We do believe when you work with the individual to prepare them for the challenge ahead or the role ahead, these 4 keys to success are necessary to consider. when using this data-driven approach. So obviously, by analyzing and classifying behaviors needed and looking at the person job fit will be the first step, and then identifying who you want to move along with, preferably obviously based on a major data set or a major group that you're looking at to start with, in order to have a bigger pool and more data available. But then also keep employees fully in the loop and be transparent about what you base these decisions on. And working with people data should be transparent and not be kept a secret, obviously, because as long as you're clear about the benefits for each individual and how it creates a more fair process, you will get less resistance and more of a higher degree of understanding by organization. So in the application phase here on the individual, that's about working with the individual goals and the profiles, and obviously the development process, setting things into motion. Malin also covered that a little bit already, to setting the right interventions to prepare the candidates in the strengthening phase. However, we do know that today the demands on certain jobs do change. Certain roles change rapidly, and new roles do emerge from nowhere. And you, as an organization, need to be prepared. And that's when this repetition step and revisitation step, back to the identification step when it comes to the individual, is important. So repeat the identification step in order to either adjust the profile for the role, but also maybe find new potential candidates along the way that meet your current and future needs. So this is a way to future-proof how you work with this data efficiently.
So how do you put the plan into action? First of all, succession planning cannot only be the focus of HR. This is something that Tove mentioned before, that usually it kind of gets dumped in HR's lap, but it needs to have a natural place at the top and with the highest management. So start talking about it in your organization. But what can you do after this webinar? As we mentioned, we hope that this webinar has given you a boost of confidence to explore different ways to apply scientific methods in your succession planning in order to help you avoid over-reliance on information with low predictive value. We also hope that you see the value in using data-driven insights through tools to identify your future leaders or key workers quicker and more accurately. And of course, this is a way of strengthening your organization with modern succession planning in order to cope better with future changes, adjustments, and demands that your organization might face. And if you wish to contact us for any questions, or if you just wish to talk more about how you can take your work to the next level in people data, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. And you will also be sent this presentation after the webinar to help you start working on your own organization. But in summary, we would like to quote the latest McKinsey study on AI and people management. Organizations are just at the start of a massive transformation in people management. But the time to act is now, as people functions will play a critical role in helping them navigate a more complex and uncertain future. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you, Tove, for today.
Thank you, Malin. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.